We've got another episode of CBS's BrainDead coming to you right now. Stay with us.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hey guys, welcome to CBS's BrainDead here on AFTERBUZZ TV. We've got the third after show of this first season of BrainDead. And it's a long title again. We've got Goring Oxes. How can you survive the war on government through 5? That is 5 easy steps. I don't know what that means even for this episode.
I'm a little brain dead because I tried to figure out what those 5 steps would be.
I did too. I couldn't think of it. But I don't know. Anybody in the chat room, if you know what the 5 things are,
if you know what one of the 5 things are, help me out. I didn't write any specific, like, this is one of the 5.
I feel like I was going to be the only one, but truly, I have no clue. So
there's 2. There's at least 2. And while you were shouting us in, I was thinking, I'm so glad we wear headphones because, like, if there are space bugs here, we're safe.
We've got Gustav's mind. You know, we know what's happening. So we are all set here. And I am Kevin Ellis. I am joined by the lovely Courtney Henderson today, but you can find me on Instagram at KevinEllis25 or on Twitter at TheKevinEllis. Courtney?
You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at Cohen, Couhen. And I actually saw, this is kind of like a silly plug to the show, they're on Instagram. And if you go to their Instagram, I'm pulling it up right now so you know what it is. It's BrainDead CBS. It is verified. It has like a cheat sheet and whatnot of some of the people that have been infested so you can kind of help keep track.
I love it.
Among other kind of fun behind the scenes type things. So check that out as well.
Awesome.
So,
well,
where do we start?
Where do we start? We started out with our folk recap again.
Yes, I'm so happy they're doing that. I'm so happy it's not the exact same, that it looks like it's been tailored. And I was thinking about that as well. Kind of one of the benefits of being like a straight to series show. I feel like you get a little more time. They've had all through pilot season and maybe prior to kind of get this going. I didn't track when it actually went to series, but the fact that they knew that they were going to have all of these episodes so that they could kind of create this and modify it as they go along, knowing that they're going to have X number of episodes, not like, are we going to get canceled after 5? Are we not going to get picked up? And is this going to be dumb?
It's a valid point. You give a lot more creative freedom to the individuals like the Kings, who are very talented, and they have this ability to come up with these fun little things that make this show so much more interesting.
Yes.
Especially for a summer series. So it's been fun so far. And I have to say, the original lyrics on that tune, I gotta give it to them. It's original every time, and they play it up perfectly to what happened in the previous episode. I can't even like quote the lines just because they go by so fast. But
I think it's this week's. I didn't get a chance to listen to the whole thing, but this week's is on their Instagram. One of them is on. So if for some reason you missed the first 30 seconds of the show, you have to go check that out.
Okay, I'm gonna have to after this wraps up.
To memorize it.
So we start out with a shot of Ella going outside of her condominium, and she is greeted by some flowers, a flower bouquet that is left for her, and it turns out that Scarlet sent it on over. So again, a little political game going on here, and the bugs are having their moments. And as I called it last episode, I would like to say that I did predict that Ella was going to turn.
Yep.
What did you think about that? Because it happened quite early, 3rd episode.
Yep. It happened early. I think it had to, though, because I think now we have kind of an investment in kind of who will be in charge. You know, kind of like the will they or won't they of all of this. Because now, I mean, I don't want to skip totally to the end of the episode, but
it's 2 of us.
It's one of those where, you know, supposedly Ella's backing down by the end of the episode, whereas obviously we see after she gets infested or infected, she's a ball buster in that kind of opening scene. She's sick. You know, the flowers are let's not fight flowers that, you know, genius Scarlet. Come on, genius, please. We know the truth, Scarlet.
We do. You might have half of your brain better, but that doesn't make the other half better.
Right?
Poor Scarlet. Slamming her early. But yeah, it was interesting to see how Ella is, as you said, she's just this individual who is a very powerful woman who you just see the two characters in Red and Ella who are pitted against one another and who don't necessarily have, again, that end goal, because it seems like at first she really wants to step up. She wants to take advantage of the whip seat that is being left by Luke, but by the end of the episode, she doesn't want it anymore. I don't really understand the motivation.
Well, so it's either one of two things, which is like predictions, but it's either she's playing him, you know, like it's kind of like, okay, there's a greater purpose. We've got to get something else moved along before I become whip as Ella, or like Red with making Chief of Staff Gareth, we see him kind of be like, no, we are not going to do grassroots. And then it's like, actually, we're going to do grassroots, and I need 5 strategies. You know, so maybe the agenda has just kind of shifted, and there's something we don't know yet that is, you know, duty calls for Ella to be elsewhere.
Definitely. And I'm glad that you brought up the Chief of Staff, because early on in the episode, we had another head blow up.
Yes.
Another combustion.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was on live national TV, though the director was able to actually cut the feed before it was broadcast live. So it's kept secret for now.
Right.
Which was interesting. But it was Red's Chief of Staff.
And they call it a stroke.
And they call it a stroke. Come on, guys. But it's enough to fool a couple of people along the way. But not our protagonist, and definitely not Gareth, it seems, is coming around to the idea. Possibly. We'll get to it. But so Laurel is now sitting down with Agent Onofrio, who is taking a liking to Laurel.
Yes.
And he visits with a senior FBI agent whose name
Blades, I think.
Thank you. Blades.
I caught it at the end.
Good call. So she sits down with these two individuals, and she is made aware that the Chief of Staff's head has blown up, and immediately she is concerned that it's Gareth because of how the verbiage of this is communicated
it's
to her.
Wheatus's guy. That's all they kind of said.
All they say.
And I felt a little guilty because that didn't cross my mind. And it was because I watched it, so I knew it wasn't him. So I wasn't tracking that she might think it's him.
Yeah, they're emotional
but I
turmoil.
felt bad. I was like, oh my gosh, of course she's gonna think it's him. Why did I think that she would think that?
Quite immediate too. She's clearly taken by him to some degree, which we'll get to later. But clearly there are some emotions, and she is suddenly
has to know.
She's going to Capitol Hill. She's making sure that he's all right, and he is all right. And Gareth was unaware of the death himself until he opens the door. Red is on the phone finding it out himself. Hopefully that's
Doesn't seem too concerned.
Doesn't seem too concerned. He's on to the next guy, who is Gareth. What did you take from that move in general? In that when you did see Laurel go on over to see whether or not Gareth was the one who was killed, what did you take away from that, emotionally speaking, from her point of view? Was it genuine concern?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it was kind of one of those, I kind of like this guy. I don't know if I like this guy. I totally don't like this guy. You know, kind of all those feelings. But he's really her kind of first and only friend in this whole thing. And whether they're more, we don't know. You know, it's to be seen. And I will say, man, I hate when they put kind of the obvious romance together for you in shows, especially in season 1. Like, usually they'll give you season 1, and then like season 2, they've got no other material for some reason, and so they have to make them, it has to be a love story. And so, but this episode, like, I saw that, and she went, and they just have this like genuine connection, and it made me kind of be okay if that were to happen, and I like judged myself.
It was actually a really cute moment.
Yeah.
I was genuinely entranced by the whole moment. I don't get like that when I watch, especially network television. I don't know. I don't find a lot of characters that I look at and say, "Oh, that would be a cute romantic couple." But these two are pretty adorable about it. They don't, as you said, they don't seem to have many other friends, allies in this political landscape that they can relate to.
Yeah, and I would imagine, I don't know, I've never been in the political scene in DC.
Right.
I would imagine that to some extent, to be successful, that has to be kind of true. That you're, I don't want to say it's as bad as like keep your friends close but your enemies closer, but kind of a little bit of that mentality where it's no matter who you're friends with, or it's everybody's friends because they can get something. It's this friendship is going to possibly benefit me someday, so we'll be friends. I think I can get something out of you.
As we live in LA, we know this all too well.
Well, yeah, and so that's why I say. I mean, I don't know it firsthand in politics, but there's definitely kind of one of those. Oh, so that's why you want to be my friend, or you meet somebody and you're like, oh, I really want to be friends with. I do want to be friends with them, or it's like, crap. Yeah. I just think I want to be like. I just want them to like me and do something cool for me. Yeah.
This could benefit me in the future.
Yeah. I mean, and there's a balance because I think. It's foolish to think that in politics or entertainment or any sort of business that you aren't wise to those opportunities, because there are going to be people that are happy to help, and I've been that way with people. Like if there's somebody that I can offer help to, and I'm happy to help because I want to see people succeed, and I think that's kind of that weird thing they have going, because it's like I want to see you succeed, but you're kind of also the enemy.
Exactly. Yeah, and they even say that at one point in time when they're in, I think they're on the phone together, or they say, good job on that. It was in the bar. It was in the bar, I think.
Yes, with the leak.
Exactly, it was the leak. And then, they actually, there was congratulations, but...
Yes.
Realization.
Oh, wait, no, they go to the bar. I think you're talking about congratulations. She calls him to invite him to the bar.
Yeah, I was thinking about the phone call.
That's what you were first thinking about.
But the congratulations, that's what I was getting at.
And in front of her dad, who I don't know if you watched The Good Wife. He was David Lee.
Yes,
so
he
if
was.
you watched The Good Wife, so it's kind of awesome to me to have I'm like one of our own, because like obviously I'm BFFs with the Kings, and so it's like our show, haha, and in my dreams. But so I love every like his little cameos, and they brought somebody. I was kind of surprised that it was him of all people, like in knowing all of the strong characters, or actors. But then again, I've been watching the show looking for, okay, where could Juliana have been, or where could all these different people, where would they have fit into this?
Like a Christine Baranski.
And where could she fit in? Or Matt. I can never say his last name. Czurchy.
Azukri.
Thank you. Him.
Yes.
Matt.
It is.
I like he could have played.
Yeah,
Aaron's
totally.
character. I mean, as far as like age and casting and everything, I think it would have been kind of fun to see him in that. But I also watched Graceland, which Aaron came from. So it's kind of fun to see him also in a little bit different of a role as well.
And Josh Charles in Danny Pino's role could have been interesting as well.
Yes. Oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
But I do love our current cast.
Yes,
Zach
and
Grenier's,
not to discredit any of them, but
because they have been doing a fantastic job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've always thought that, and I should know. I don't know if it's the same casting director for this that did The Good Wife.
It was.
It was? Okay. Well, that makes perfect sense, because the Kings are very dialogue ridden, and I know casting has said multiple times that because it's not an action-packed type show, this has a little bit more with some of the bug stuff.
They do. But Mark Sachs.
You've got to have great people that can just walk and talk, or sit behind a closed door and have a conversation and have it be something you actually want to pay attention to and follow. So yeah, I agree. The cast is great.
It is superb, and Jan Maxwell, who plays Ella, comes out swinging when they're at their own.
Oh, I loved it.
It was fantastic. She's coming out. But it's
that could have been Christine. There you go.
It's this extreme. Yeah, she could have, definitely. She's got this extreme liberal stance that she is now touting. And Luke is kind of up in arms. He doesn't know what to think at this point, because he's seeing a constituency that is now being moved to the left. And he knows that a moderation at this point in time is what they need.
Right.
But the bugs are pushing them away from center. And I think that's what I'm noticing more, is just everything's coming away from center.
Right. And there was a small part that kind of, I think, started to touch on the enhancements, or kind of with the memory, it takes, so it starts to take part of your brain, and so you will have some extreme behaviors in certain areas. But kind of back to what you were saying with Ella kind of being the ball buster in their meeting, and just kind of completely, what's the word, like bulldozing or...
Yeah, she just shuts him down.
Whatever it's called. Yeah. I can't think of the word. I apologize. But yeah, Luke to basically take over. She's kind of gonna be the whip. You think?
She does.
Moving forward.
She sideswipes him completely.
But then when Red finds out that now Ella is challenging Luke, and they're trying to figure, okay, who do we want? Luke, Ella. And I would be horrible at politics, I think, because... Well, because I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm like, okay, well, you're saying yourselves she's become this kind of warrior liberal, like extremist to the nth degree, and you have Luke, who's a little bit more moderate, willing to play, if you will, to try to find compromise and get government back up. And they say, no, we don't want that. We want Ella, because we could lose some of our party to a moderate. And it just seems so backwards that... Well, like Aaron, you go to make change, and then you strategically are trying to help people that don't want to make change or to compromise to create change to keep them in power.
I think you have a totally valid point as far as where the mindset is. I don't think that you are foolish for thinking that at all. I'm looking at it from the perspective of who Red's office is as an entity, and it is the majority whip. So they're just trying to whip up votes, just like in House of Cards, how Frank Underwood was the whip. You're just trying to find votes, and if you feel like that you're going to get less votes for your party, if you're going to have an extreme leftist opposite party, then you're going to benefit more. So I think that's it's totally.
But I'm just saying I didn't even think about that. Because
I didn't think about it either.
I'm thinking you want the person that you can actually have a conversation with and work together and compromise. But apparently not. Apparently
make the deal.
You want to find like some sort of true hard line of nope, we are going to keep all of our people believing and doing what we say they should do because the alternative is so far off of our beliefs that they can't vote that way and get away with it.
And it's creating
for the party.
It's creating partisanship in the respect.
So much.
I mean, in the respect that no, we don't want to have a discussion. We just want to draw the line. We want to draw that line, and it is what it is. And either you go on this side of it or this side of it. There's no either or. We're not going to have a debate about it at any point in time. It's just this is the way it is. And I think that's what at least our current government has turned into. It's just you're either on one side or the other. There's very little middle ground. I don't know. I think that all of this is an analogy for that. I think that's the way the Kings are writing it.
It's intentional, definitely.
Totally. Well, so we nailed the fact that this is a sign of the times, but we get on over to Dr. Bob.
That's double B on the last name.
Random. He is the most socially awkward character and yet the most intelligent. Which is typical.
I was going to say.
So typical.
You just, enough said. Yep, nailed it.
So he's acting really socially awkward off the bat. He goes on in to the constituency meeting with Laurel and says, simply, I just want a smaller government. That's it. Nothing beyond that. He just leaves the conversation as such until she is forced to leave the office and he jumps her a little bit.
Approaches her, yes.
Approaches is probably the right. He doesn't jump her. And introduces the idea that the bugs are eating people's brains. Bluntly said, he's coming out with a theory, and she immediately is a little struck by his bluntness and the fact that he's trying to make her put her cell phone into this Mylar bag. And obviously there's a little bit of paranoia to him.
Absolutely. Well...
And I will say why there's possibly paranoia. Obviously, there is valid paranoia in that he's not showing, he's showing that he is logical in all of his decision making. But then when I looked at when they were in the hospital later, I'm jumping ahead. I have to defend my claim that he was being paranoid.
Okay, fair enough.
But when they were in the hospital and he was saying those people are watching us by the elevator. I was focusing on these guys in the background. I don't know if you guys were, but I was focusing on them, and they were just simply on their cell phones, didn't at any point in time glance up. They didn't do a cut to them at all. It was just simply...
Yeah, they weren't following him.
They weren't following him. So
No.
I do kind of think there is an element. I do think there's an element.
Then you have the candy bar eaters.
Yes, you do.
And then you
They
have...
showed up twice.
I was going to say, then you have...
And they weren't making eye contact.
the repeat of the candy bar eaters.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would go as far as to say he's paranoid. Well, I guess he has reason to be.
Reason to be, definitely.
But I guess to me, paranoia, I kind of think of or define as sort of like unwarranted
Totally
or kind of
unfounded,
completely
yeah. I would agree.
unfounded. That's a better word. Whereas to me, I'm like, okay, he has an actual real reason why he doesn't want the NSA listening to his calls, and he wants to be aware if somebody is actually kind of following him, looking over his shoulders, making sure he's aware of his situation and surroundings, because I think one of two things: you don't want somebody that is aware of the situation on the wrong side of this, and in his case, the infested side of that would be the wrong side, I think. Finding out what you know because you're next, unless you're going to wear cups over your
Cups over your
ears
ears all the
all
time.
forever.
Or earmuffs like us.
Which I was really surprised. I actually had a moment where I was like, are they really going to get him? Like, and is this almost going to help or hurt? Because, it's like if it's that enhanced part of your brain, and because he has so many memories, if you will, or so much intelligence because he reads all the time.
Sure.
What is it going to pull away? Is it going to pull his complete memory of anything he knows about the screwworms? But then, of course, the cups actually did block it from him.
Do you think that let's theorize the fact that the bugs actually do enter his head, he seems like an individual that would fight it off, and if we're going on the theory that fighting off these bugs, his head would explode.
But bugs can fart. That was his explanation for the heads exploding.
He did say that. What was...
He said it was like not an
gas
overdose,
release.
but yeah, like too much methane in the brain or something, and so it caused the combustion.
Yeah. That's right, he did say that.
And, it's
a theory for now.
Of course.
Because we don't know whether or not that is valid. But
Right.
No, that is interesting. He did say that. One thing that I did find quite interesting is that they both notice different things. At this point in time in the episode, when they're having their first initial discussion, one doesn't trust the other with certain things, and the other does the same.
And you're talking about Laurel and
So I'm talking
Gustav,
about Laurel
right?
and Gustav.
Okay.
At the first initial point, Laurel is noticing all of the things that are happening simply within the political realm and how people are acting with their decision making. And then you have Gustav, who is simply looking at people's just natural human reactions and quirks.
Right.
And I found that interesting. As you said, he was noticing the candy bar.
Right.
Laurel was just simply noticing the changes in Scarlet, in Ella, in Red. That she's noticing these things.
Right.
But that's something that's obviously that Gustav is going to pay attention to. But it is interesting to see these two different worlds.
But I think it's still maybe a little bit agenda. Her agenda for having the bugs infect people or not infect people is a very different reasoning than Gustav.
Of course.
And to some extent, I don't even know that he really cares who it's happening to.
Right.
I think it's more he just wants to understand and know, especially because he lost his friend. But it's just kind of like, this crazy thing's happening. I want to figure it out and understand why.
Right.
Versus, we got to shut this down.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Whereas for Laurel, it's like, we got to shut this down, I feel like is a little bit more her reasoning. Because if we don't, they're all going to end up on this one side we don't know much about and we don't want in politics.
Yeah, and she leaves that meeting in the park with this idea that he might be losing it a little bit until she actually sees Scarlet in the next scene with Ella. She knows something is up at that point in time. She hears the music playing, you might think, by the cars. And obviously she's got serious questions at this point in time because there's no reason for Scarlet to be meeting with the enemy, knowing that she is sleeping with her brother.
Unknown.
Exactly.
I mean, if she came back and said something and he's like, oh yeah, I sent her up there for X, Y, or Z, okay, but no, it was very much a secret meeting.
And she was already suspecting Scarlet to begin with because of the interaction that they had earlier, where after she had, Scarlet had put the cherry blossoms in Luke's office, the same type of flower that held the bugs when Ella was
Infected.
We got to come up with the proper word.
I think it's infested. I'll look.
Infested? I mean, even infested doesn't even sound proper. There's got to be a word that I just am not thinking of. I keep saying taken, but it's just not good enough. Help us out. If you guys are in the chat room,
I'm going to
with the right word. Indoctrinated?
They use...
Steve's in my headset. He's helping out. That's possible.
Here we go. Who's infected? See?
Who's infected?
On the Instagram, they're using the word infected.
Our own publicity team at CBS says infected is the proper word. So
yes.
Infected it is, CBS. So Scarlet, yeah. So we don't trust Scarlet.
Right.
Her dad's back, has a little bit of a conversation with Laurel, is talking about how her dad's friends saw Gareth and her at the ball together. Kind of a weird way for that to...
Well, I have like kind of mixed feelings about it because it's one of those things that's like, okay, if your family is Laurel's family, if you're the Healy's and kind of it feels like resident politicians, like long-standing folk in DC.
Yeah.
They're whether there's an agenda or not, like they're gonna see you and they're gonna mention it. But especially if you're gonna go with the like opposition. You know what I mean? So on one hand, it's like, I felt like even if her dad in no way was kind of trying to see what she's up to, that would have been something somebody he knows would have told him. Just because the nature of, oh my gosh, did you know your daughter went to the tax prom with the enemy kind of thing, with so-and-so's chief of staff, or, you know, I don't know if he was chief of staff by the time it was said to her dad, but... Or if it really is, like she said, are you surveilling me? Like your surveillance is up, you know? So obviously this is not something new. She's clearly, it feels like
she's
been
used
through
to
this
dad.
before. Yeah. So, but to me, it was just kind of like, you can't be that mad about this. It's a very public place in a very political environment where he's completely a part of. So you had to think that he would know that.
Definitely.
You know?
She even said she's sick of her family trying to control her own life. I thought it was a very powerful statement.
Yet,
and
she moved back.
She did.
I mean, for the money.
But she really, as we saw at the beginning of the episode, she was right. She was still working on her documentary. She still cares. That part of her has not left. And that is endearing.
Which, of course, Gustav like knew exactly this village. It's funny, I was telling somebody about the show and I was like, the Wubby Wubby tribe, whatever, like this like really nondescript, I have no idea where they are.
He doesn't listen to the music. He's just aware.
I love that he's like, nobody listens to that. He's like, I don't even listen to that, and I listen to everything.
Yeah, he's a character.
They would do that. Like they would give her the hope, like, oh my gosh, somebody knows what this is. And he's like, yeah, but I don't listen to that.
I feel like he's a guy that just reads
I listen to
Wikipedia
Kanye
pages.
and I don't listen to that.
Yeah, he just reads Wikipedia pages all day and learns everything that he can. I feel like that's Gustav's character. Which
but we never see him reading.
No, I mean we just have to assume that it happened at some point. Well, no, he did. He referenced the Wikipedia page, or he referenced that flesh-eating bug that he did want her to. No, please tell me more.
You know, I only got the second half.
No,
that's as much as I got to write down.
That is one half more than I did.
Don't check my spelling.
Okay. So we get to the bar, which we had addressed a little bit earlier, but let's revisit.
I liked that scene, and I hate myself for liking that scene.
I thought it was one of the most adorable little love scenes I've seen in a long time.
That's why I hate that I liked it.
Broadcast TV. And as you said, it's happening earlier on in this show. But what went through your mind when she pulled away, got up, and started to leave?
Exactly what he said.
And what was that?
That it means something.
That it means something.
If you leave. Like, if we can't just... like you and I'm not suggesting you, but I'm just saying, if we were to kiss right now,
Sure.
and just keep on going like professionals can do,
and then one of us pulled away and walked away without saying a word.
well,
You're probably
I think,
right.
But
It
you
would be-
saw there was a moment and the kiss changed. Like it wasn't that kind of silly peck with her smiling because he's like, you got to take this more seriously. So as soon as she took it more seriously, go back and watch it, y'all.
I don't disagree.
There was a moment, and that's why she pulled away, because it was like, uh-oh.
I'm getting involved.
This isn't just for show anymore.
Yeah.
This one was for me,
Mm-hmm. That's
That,
good.
and so, but he knew it too. He
he
knew
did.
it too.
He wanted
But
it
he
to
wanted
happen.
her to stay.
He did.
And his justification was, to try to get her to stay, was, if you leave, it means something, because now it's weird, and when do we see each other, and how does that next time we're together happen? But if you stay, we can sort of let like the awkwardness sort of burn off, and we'll know at the end of the night kind of where we stand, and we can kind of like go our separate ways.
Mm-hmm.
But Laurel didn't take that.
She did not take that bait.
She had to go.
She did leave. And she left.
I wouldn't have left,
pretty-
for the record.
For the record, you
I don't
wouldn't
think I
have
would have left.
I would have. I might have played it like Gareth, but that is. I don't know how I'd feel afterward. What would I have really wanted in that moment? I would have wanted her to stay, just genuinely, just wanted her to stay.
Yeah.
But he seemed a little. He seemed a little bent out of shape at the fact that she did leave. Though he turned her around. He was uncertain. I know that look.
Yeah, well, because
I've
now
had that
now
look.
it's weird.
Yeah.
Because did it mean something or didn't it mean something?
Yeah.
And you feel like it did, because she had to leave and she couldn't like handle the moment and just,
We shall find out.
And now people saw them kiss and saw her leave abruptly.
Yep. Well, something to look forward to.
Yes,
a love
well-
story that will continue, and maybe we'll get our wishes met by the end of the season.
And
is only episode 3.
a bit of the kissing and the love scenes, if you will.
Uh-huh.
Somebody else has a far more disastrous one come up in this episode.
Oh, Luke, you fool!
Right?
You knew it was coming at some point in time. Once
I'm
Scarlet
so glad
turned.
it did.
Oh yeah, it
I
had
really
happened.
am. I mean, because like I said, I think it was last episode, I like him. And I don't like that I like him, because he's kind of not that great of a guy.
Scummy at
He's not a
times.
great guy.
No, he's not the best at times. Yeah, so Jermaine has learned that he has cheated on her, and it doesn't go over well. There is no reconciliation in that moment. It's just simply we see some disconnect.
We don't see much. And there's a part of me that feels like she knew, and she's mad that now it's national news, not that it happened.
Right. And was that the same actress in the first episode? I'm trying to figure that out. It seemed like it could be.
It didn't
but
alarm me
I was just
that
curious
it wasn't.
because I don't
I'm gonna
recognize.
IMDb it, but we can keep
woman.
talking.
Yeah, we can keep talking.
But-
So yeah, that comes to be. But where else did we go with that? Oh yes. So so he sets up. Gustav sets up the bug trap. This is big.
Bug trap.
Continued.
Like so many bug traps.
Squared.
Oh my god.
Repeating. He had more bug traps than I've ever seen, and heavy duty ones too. He was not screwing around. And we see him put together some red cups that some of us have seen in college, and
I've only heard about them.
only heard about them. Oh,
Yeah.
good for you. I'm proud. So he tapes it around. I thought it was like a cheese head. I'm from Wisconsin, so immediately that's where my head went. Had this triangular motion.
Naturally.
It looked like a cheese head. So he falls asleep. The bugs go on up, but they do not enter. Thank God they don't enter. But he wakes up to the fact that one of the bug traps is actually moving. Goes on over to the hospital, and we are revisited by Rochelle.
Which, first of all, he didn't feel the bugs on his neck.
I thought that was a little bizarre not to wake up to that, but how did he feel? How did he sense that bug trap was moving? It was connected to some kind of string. Was that connected to him?
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, it was connected to a string, I thought.
I initially thought that the bugs crawling up his neck woke him up.
Yeah.
But then he was far less interested in that and really was interested in what the heck's going on the floor.
And for a guy as intelligent as him, you have to wonder, at what point in time do you look at one of those bug traps, see it moving around the way it does, and think that an ant is making that type of movement?
I mean, I thought that there were like several in there.
That's where your mind was at?
That was my justification. I mean, I really thought that it was the space bugs and that it was just kind of a crew of them that had kind of gotten stuck or whatever. Because I mean, I don't know how bug traps work. I don't trap bugs ever.
You've never had a bug
I should
trap
start.
before?
Maybe this week I will. I'll see how it goes.
We've
I
had
want to
ad
bug
problems
bomb
in
my house. Have you ever done that?
I've never done a bug bomb.
But we have a dog, so I can't.
I've seen plenty of television episodes where there's bug bombs, and it never ends well for anybody.
Oh, don't tell me that. Okay, so I'm not bug bombing my house this weekend.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They bug bomb. Somebody goes on in to get Phillies tickets, and he almost dies because of it.
Oh my
He's
gosh.
just totally
okay.
passed out. Really
but this
sick.
isn't Philly,
Great
so
episode.
I might be okay. I'm still looking.
It's not Philadelphia. We are in D.C. So where are we at? So he goes on over to the X-ray clinic where he meets with Dr. Dodier's daughter, Rochelle, who we were introduced to the last episode. And she is going through the X-rays. They see, or at least what Gustav sees, is a mandible or jawbone of some sort of this ant. So he knows that something is inside, and he knows that it's an insect, and that's why he sets up the bug traps. And when he goes on in to see Rochelle this time, he brings in the bug, only to find out the entire time it's a cockroach. So it's not these bugs at all. But immediately he knows that they are still in his place, which I thought was bizarre. I don't know why he denoted that right away, that they were back at his place the entire time.
Like he had actually summoned them, he just didn't catch any.
It was.
Well, there were
I
also
felt that
like
was
83 bags that he brought in. I thought he had several samples of these bugs. And he had a cockroach.
He did one cockroach.
I mean, and the fact that he like put it in a bag and didn't look at it first.
I know.
To me, I was like, dude, for somebody so smart, you're not so smart.
Yeah, he's got some learning to do, but he might be our golden ticket to figuring out how to defeat these things in the end. So I'm optimistic of that at least. So what was your general reaction? Because I was watching you, and it turns out that my theory about what your reaction wasn't true. But when you saw the bugs going towards the cat, I thought that you were showing some compassion. It turns out that's not the case. We're both allergic to cats, apparently, as we found out during the pre-warm-up here. Yeah, we don't
I don't care for cats. It's honestly just because I'm miserable in their presence. I actually don't dislike them.
They're adorable.
Right. So I'm a dog person because I can let them love me and love them back, and nobody sneezes.
Yeah. So before we get to the revelation of the cat at the end of the episode, we have Laurel, who is visited by the FBI again. She goes on into the FBI interrogation room, is sat down, only to be reprimanded for, what was it, CHIs, which are catastrophic head injuries.
Yes.
So she has no idea.
You didn't know that, did you? I can't believe you didn't know that. Everybody knows that, except for you and Laurel.
I am a fool. Laurel and I, we get along, I guess.
Like, what? I mean, you just call them CHIs?
I know, it's this government jargon that they're just throwing in there. And it's very closed-minded in that this FBI agent who Blades, thank you, is just not getting the situation. He's just seeing the fact that he's just seeing one-sided there, that Laurel must be connected to this somehow. He is right. He is right in that regard.
To at least trace that.
Sure.
Yeah.
But to be so skeptical right off the bat, thinking that she's involved, it's just so cliche. But Agent D'Onofrio phones on in to her brother,
Anthony,
brings her out. So what did you think of that?
She did not know that until after the fact.
She was railing on him.
Screened his call.
Calls him a bastard.
I mean, if the shoe fits. I'm just kidding.
So
I'm just kidding.
He's quite a nice guy to our protagonist here. What do you think about that?
I think that I hope that doesn't become a love story. I mean, the only love story I'm okay with at this point is Gareth. And even then, I judge myself for even like entertaining the idea of it.
She was checking her breath at the beginning of the episode.
I know. I put that. I put fluffs because I was in a hurry.
Fluffs.
I know because I know that's not the right word. Okay.
I love it.
I just didn't. I was in a hurry. I was trying
Fluffs,
to look back up at the episode. So
he's clearly into her, and she has at least some sort of notice of him. So that is integral. So we get to the end of the episode. Ella is no longer challenging Luke for the whip out of nowhere. We don't know the reason. Oh,
I think. Well, she just met with the 6 female voters, congresswomen or senators, and something in that conversation, and that's why I feel like either Ella has them kind of in her pocket, and so they're just playing like it, like so. Laurel is again being played.
Yeah.
Or something in that conversation went into Ella's mind and she kind of went, aha. So now my agenda is this. So I have to go over here and do this other thing. And Luke has to say whip. So I don't know which it is.
I think you're right.
But we didn't talk about Laurel and Stacy at all yet.
And we have not talked about that.
We have to touch on that briefly.
We do have to touch on it briefly. Tell me what you thought about that scene.
I loved that instantly Laurel went right to what Gustav had said. Like, as crazy as she thought he was, I'm talking really fast because we gotta hurry up. Okay. As crazy as she thought he was, she totally was buying into the facts that he told her and the little bit of reading that she did based on what he said to checked out.
Yep.
So she just kind of went straight for the jugular, went straight to the memories. Totally had her, it seemed like, pulling back into her normal self. I will be interested to see if that's something that can be, like, if the bugs can almost be undone.
Yes.
Maybe not to the point where you gain that memory back or whatever part of their brain they got, but that they're unable to continue to decay it or infest it or whatever the wording would be.
And that's an interesting prediction because you've got Gustav, who is very, emotionally speaking, he is just so intelligent. He's hyper intelligent, but emotionally, that's where Laurel is key. That's why she is our hero, in that she has something that all these other people in Washington don't, and that is heart. So I think that you are right in that we have something to look forward to in Laurel providing the answer to extracting this plague that's infecting Washington. But we are low on time, so we got to wrap up. Thank you for joining us on our 3rd episode of this season. I am Kevin Ellis. You can find me on Instagram at KevinEllis25 or on Twitter at TheKevinEllis.
You can find me, Courtney Henderson, on Instagram and Twitter at Cohen, Couhen. Let us know if there's anything you want to talk about. We can talk about it online.
Yeah, please send us any kind of comments in iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud. You know where to find us. We air on Monday nights, but we're here all week. Thank you. Oh, go for it.
We have a hiatus next week.
We do.
4th of July. We will be back July 11th with episode 4.
Celebrate Independence Day in whatever way you wish. We're in LA. I'm going to be watching Independence Day, the original, maybe the sequel. I don't know. It's getting okay reviews.
Probably a beach day for me.
Maybe. That sounds good.
We'll see.
Well, thank you for joining us again. We will see you in 2 weeks for episode 104 of BrainDead. See you.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.